I want this song to play every time I walk into any room, anywhere, ever. Bathroom. Yeah. How was lunch? I know, good. Well, good. Having a good day so far, everyone? All right, there's plenty more. Please see our vendors when you're done. And also, there's a Ouija experiment. Folks came all the way from Denmark. If you haven't helped them out so far, it's really interesting. They're pairing people up. They're monitoring your eyes, what you're looking at, and like really cool like scientific experiments on the use of the Ouija board. And there, if you go out of the doors and make a right, they're doing those up there all day long. Just sign up and they'll give you a time. It's really, I can't wait to see what the results are. So it's been a cool thing so far. So does it really work? Well, what did the Fold family say? It worked for us. They were kind of rich. So, but I think we're gonna find out, you know, with this experiment too. That's really interesting because I've always believed these things work on faith, so that becomes some gray area, doesn't it? And our next speaker is a guy that I've known from the pinnacle of his career, which was an appearance on 30 Odd Minutes. Yeah, after that it's been, you know.
I signed one.
Right, he's signed an autograph.
It's my mom.
Okay. Calvin's mom saw the episode. My mom saw the episode. That's 2. Anyone else? 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. Awesome. So great guy, great personality, a lot of fun. Another New Englander, close to our heart. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Calvin Von Crush.
Greetings, mortals. So I have a unique perspective on the occult and paranormal and stuff like that. And I think the best way to approach any kind of subject is to ask questions. And that's kind of how we're going to get you guys through my experience with the occult and paranormal and through this presentation in general. This is my first time public speaking. I've never done it before, but I'm very good at carrying ice cream cones. So I think we've got this covered. Who is this guy and why should I listen to him? That's me. This is probably the only devil that you're going to encounter here at the convention, a handsome one at that. I am a tattoo artist by trade. I specialize in kind of spooky, creepy stuff. That's why I like the occult and paranormal so much. I am a founding director of the Talking Board Historical Society, and I actually made that snazzy logo. But I do have some hobbies, and one of them is collecting. This is me and my good friend Nathan back there. Where is he? Did he take off? Oh, there's Nathan. We walked about 26 miles in 2 days through freezing cold rain and lots of mud, and plenty of cranky old people with bad attitudes, and one person with an angry dog, I believe, too. I have a number of weird items that I share my home with. I have over 3 dozen freak animals in my house, many of them in jars. But this little guy, this is the amazing Leonard and Sheldon, named after Big Bang Theory fame. They are a live 4-year-old 2-headed map turtle. One of them is friendly, one of them is not. They both have different personalities. And I also have a number of deceased people living with me. Not in ghost form, but actually hanging on hooks. This is Monique. Monique was murdered in 1920s Paris by another prostitute. That's right, they were both working the same corner and had a dispute. Monique was stabbed and died violently, and she could not afford a proper grave, so we believe she was donated to a medical school that prepared her, and she taught many doctors. I am the first non-doctor to own her. I also have a couple items that are believed to be haunted and cursed. This is Elliot. Elliot came to me from a dear friend who gave it to me, insisted I take it, paid for shipping and everything, and he tormented 2 different families. Her son had horrible nightmares, and they asked why he was so scared, and he would always clam up about it. So finally she said, we're getting rid of that picture you don't like. And he goes, good, I don't like Elliot anymore. So that's how we got the name. Apparently he was visiting in his sleep. Elliot has never visited me, but if he does show up, I will gladly charge him rent. As you can see, a big part of my collection is Ouija boards. All of my walls are pretty much lined with them. I think I'm up to like 75 or so at this point. No bump in the night yet. In fact, I don't believe in any of it. I'm a complete devout skeptic. Like many of these guys before me, that's Harry Houdini, Joseph Dunninger, the amazing Randy, and Penn and Teller. but I wasn't always a skeptic. That's me. Yep, handsome little guy. I got married at a very young age. No, I'm kidding. That's my first Holy Communion. I grew up a very good Catholic boy. I had a super devout religious Catholic grandmother, and she was Italian. Anybody have a crazy Italian grandmother? Oh, we have a couple. Anyone ever been to a rock concert? Yeah, everyone's seen the horn in hand, right? Everyone thinks that's the devil? No, that's Italian grandmother. Ronnie James Dio, he said he adopted that from his crazy Italian grandmother. I grew up absolutely obsessed with the paranormal. I used to do divination from cards from a little 50-cent booklet that we picked up at the supermarket. I grew up on unsolved mysteries and sightings. Does anyone remember sightings?
Oh, yeah.
It was on Friday night before X-Files. That music used to scare the crap out of me. Do you remember they had the alien pop up on screen? I'd hide and wait until that alien was gone so I could watch it. This right here, this is the gateway drug. I got my first Ouija board. I believe it was Christmas of 5th grade. I asked for one from Santa. I didn't believe in Santa anymore, but I figured if I did, I might get more presents. And I actually wrote a very violent story in 5th grade about a little girl who was kidnapped and murdered, and her ghost came to a group of teenagers in a graveyard. They found her body in a mausoleum. So yeah, that's what normal 5th graders do, right? I went to go to sleepovers and stuff like that, and the parents would find out that I was bringing a Ouija board with me to have some fun, and they would get pretty upset. So when the parents would show up, they would go, that Calvin kid's not here, right? And they go, no, that's Dwight. By the way, guys, this is Dwight. So I look nothing like Dwight. We are still very good friends. We've been friends since 5th grade, but I did lead a double life where I was in for quite a bit. I never got away from the paranormal. It was always a big part of my life. It was always there. And I'm sure many of you people in the room have felt the same way. It's always a big part of your life. I shared an apartment with a girl for a little bit in Florida, and she had a romantic affair with this guy. Anyone know who this is? This is Eric Harris. He's one of the Columbine shooters. She would spend hours upon hours playing that glow-in-the-dark Ouija board by herself, communicating with Eric Harris. Do I really think it was him? Not at all. Do I think she was lonely? For sure. See, that's just it, folks. I do want to believe. I really do love the paranormal. I love the history. I love meeting the people. I love hearing the stories. I travel to all the places. I walk the streets of Tombstone. I've been to the Winchester Mystery House. I work very, very closely with the Mark Twain House and Museum in Connecticut because I want to give myself every opportunity to change my mind. I want to experience this. That's why I started collecting. I wanted my walls to bleed. I wanted to wake up with the incubus sitting on my chest. So far, nothing. So what is a Ouija board, right? I think everybody has to ask that question. They hear it, they hear people are playing with it, they're kind of terrified. This is what everyone thinks about when they see it. That's the first one I thought of. But a Ouija board is really just a name brand. It can be a talking board. Anything can be a talking board. This is something a lot of people make at home. They would lay down, pieces of paper with numbers on it, and they would lay a piece of glass over it, and then they would use a upturned glass to ask questions. Here's a Metacom board. Metacom board is a very, very interesting board where 4 people can play instead of just a regular 2. But still, another talking board. This one upgraded to electricity. It had a little light, and the planchette would actually slide around the top, and you could light up your answers. So you can play in the dark, or at least get the crap out of your friends. But decided by government, the Ouija board is nothing more than a game. The Baltimore Talking Board Company sued the IRS, proclaiming that its boards were much more than mere toys and should not be subjected to a game tax. The company argued that it was a device to communicate to the other side. After losing in federal and appellate courts, they appealed to the Supreme Court in 1922, which refused to hear their case. So that's it, folks. It's just a game. Where do Ouija boards come from? There's so many rumors about where they came from, and a lot of them are started by Hollywood, which board talks about them being used in ancient Greece. But we know the earliest image that we have of one. Back that up. Ouija boards come from a long line of spirit communication, and it starts with these ladies. The techniques that the Fox sisters used back in Hyattsville, New York in 1848 are still used on investigation today. A lot of people will hear a noise and they'll go, hey, if that was you, please make another noise. If this is so-and-so, please make 2 for yes, 1 for no. These ladies started the whole thing. They were very young girls when this happened. They were only, I want to say 12 and 13. And they started communicating with an entity named Mr. Splitfoot. Now, Splitfoot is a reference to cloven foot, much like the devil. And the rumor states that they tied an apple to a string and they would drop it and it would go on the floor and the parents would hear it and get scared. Before they knew it, everything was out of control and all their neighbors from surrounding towns were coming to listen to them communicate to the dead. Can we think of another incident in history where teenage girls made up a rumor and things got out of hand? Anyone from Massachusetts? Salem witch trials? So what have we learned? Little girls are the devil. So everyone got tired of them calling out all these letters and waiting for spirits to communicate with them. So a spirit actually suggested we take a basket, flip it upside down, put a pencil in it, and that way we can actually just save ourselves a little trouble and write directly. On June 10th, 1853, the planchette was born in Paris, France. We know this because an occultist named Allan Kardec wrote of the experience. Here is the earliest image of a talking board. Ohio, 1886. It was a craze that was sweeping the nation. So many people would reference this and make one on their own and try it out if they didn't believe it. But Elijah Bond was the smart man to patent it. And everybody can go to the cemetery up here and check him out.
Wow.
Ouija board's always evil. No, they weren't. Look at that. That's a family having a good time. Little kids watching. Oh, again, different family. And again, oh, look at this. It's just a guy and a girl. They're all alone. But as a skeptic, you can't believe the source, okay? These guys could be making stuff up because they want you to bring the devil into your home. But what if we look at pop culture in general? We can analyze that in the 1920s, the Ouija board was everywhere. This is a cover of the Saturday Evening Post done by Norman Rockwell. Here's an original Ouija sketch that was done. Very similar to Norman Rockwell's, but with big giant heads. So unless they're possessed, and that's a demon making their head grow. And of course we have Ouija, Ouija, Tell Me Do. Ouija, Ouija, Tell Me Do was one of the most popular songs in the country. Why on earth would people write a song about something so evil? These are the lyrics of the song. There's a game played by nearly every family. This little board is the ruler of the nation now. Some game talk of fun right in your own home. Old maids love it most to death and play it night and day. I don't mean that they actually died, they just loved it a lot. So if we go further, we can see that people actually used it romantically. There are a ton of Valentines that feature Ouija boards and planchettes. Look at it, these ladies are all pretty, all decked out in Art Nouveau clothes, hanging out. Devil's not present, they're just hanging out. Little kids playing with it. If people put little kids playing with a Ouija board on TV or in a magazine today, I bet people would have a conniption fit. Again, little kids. Little kids love talking to the dead. You've seen Sixth Sense, Haley Joel Osment, he sees them too. She looks a little confused, and there actually is a gentleman actually in the Ouija board museum who was drawn by the same artist. Go check him out in person. Now, if we want to take away stuff that people bought, because like I said, I'm a skeptic, I think people are trying to make money off of things, we can actually still see people having a good time with the Ouija board. There's so many pictures and evidence stating that it wasn't something scary. Have you guys ever seen anybody playing Ouija board in the park? In 1920, it was very possible. It was like Mahjong or checkers. Look at this. This is 1961. This is a family party. Everybody's smiling, having a good time. Again, 1970s. Look, the little girl's eating ice cream. Seriously. So why do Ouija boards get such a bad name? It's really, really easy to jump the gun and say that it's Hollywood. And at first I want to say that's what I thought too. Here's The Exorcist. And we have Witchboard. And I still think that Witchboard is actually a documentary. It's about Tawny Kitaen just getting out of control on cocaine. But art imitates life. There are genuine instances where a Ouija board was brought up when people lost their minds. Sarah Griffin, she committed suicide after the Ouija board told her to. Now, I'm actually from Connecticut. I think she committed suicide because she lived in Bridgeport. Bridgeport was once the murder capital of the world a couple years ago. It's not a good town. This is a horrible, horrible story. It's about mourning parents holding neighbors captive. This was so bad and such an incident that they tried to make Ouija boards illegal here. So what do we think, folks? Do we think they wanted to keep people in that house because they needed a stronger conduit to talk to the other side? Or were they just so consumed by grief that this was their only outlet? I think it's because they were just sad they lost their kid. Mae Murdoch murders husband. She lives with her husband for 26 years, and the Ouija told her to kill him. How about this one? Lila Jimerson convinces Nancy Bowen to commit murder. Now the story goes that Lila was actually in love with Clotilda's husband, and she convinced one of her friends to do it. I don't think the Ouija board really had anything to do with it. I think she was just an angry, bitter woman who wanted somebody else's man. Hubert Hurd murders his wife. Now Hubert Hurd, this poor guy, his wife got a message from the Ouija board saying that he was cheating on her and he was hiding money. Hubert Hurd was in his 70s. Unless he was hiding a time machine to go to the future and buy Viagra, he wasn't cheating on anybody. He eventually broke free from his bonds and killed his wife.
Wow.
So, we know the Ouija board gets a bad rap, right? Are there any other games similar to talking boards that have gotten a bad rap? What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Yeah? Well, here's the voodoo table. The voodoo table works in a very, very similar fashion. This is actually a table tipping game. And table tipping is a very, very old style of spirit communication. Here is Vita the Magic Answer Man. Vita works in a weird fashion. He's this little guy that you put in the middle of the questions and he spins around. Vita actually has a talking board that goes along with him. You can see that in the museum. We have one. Something happened to Vita though. He saw some really dark shit in the 60s and he got all bitter. I think his wife and kids left him. Yeah, he's not that happy guy anymore. Look at him. And if you guys are from Baltimore, doesn't he kind of look like John Waters? He's got that little pencil mustache. Kabbalah. Kabbalah is one of my favorites because not only does it combine talking boards, it combines tarot cards and it makes sure that you go straight to hell. There's two things that the devil likes. Yeah, check out that sweet advertisement for Kabbalah. This was actually advertised in comic books. You can still pick up old comic books at flea markets and see this advertisement in there. The fickle finger of fate. Look at that teeny tiny little planchette that floats around. It uses a mysterious substance called slick silver. I hope it's not mercury though. Kids are eating that stuff. This is actually one of my favorite too. This is the Colorform's finger of fate. The talking board aspect is actually in a little globe, and people rest their hands on the outside, and a little finger spins around. Can you guys kind of see it? That little guy right here? But that thing spins around so quick, there's no way you could ever spell anything. I think it's being transmitted by a hummingbird spirit. Beautiful artwork though, and we can actually thank Gene Orlando for putting this up on his website because everybody on Etsy who has an interest in Ouija boards steals it from his site and uses it in jewelry. Thanks, Gene. There we go. Have any other games been demonized by society? Yes, they have. Dungeons and Dragons. Does everyone remember Dungeons and Dragons? I don't think any of the kids who played Dungeons and Dragons could ever kill anybody. But yeah, it happened. Kids went missing. Kids killed each other. It's not because the game made them do it. It's just because they didn't have the right guidance. Let's face it, kids do stupid things. It's never what they're playing with that causes it. It's the adults that aren't guiding them to the right conclusion. 50-year-old boy sentenced for murder of his playmate. Now there is actually something very, very terrifying that can happen to you if you grow up playing Dungeons and Dragons. You can turn into this guy. Is he here? Where's Brandon Hodge? Brandon. Round of applause for Brandon Hodge. He's actually an award-winning RPG writer. He still works with role-playing games to this day, and he is one of my dear, dear friends. What about the Magic 8 Ball? Who here has had a Magic 8 Ball? Everyone's had one, right? I got one for a birthday gift. Apparently, Roger J. Bowen, PhD, believes that the 8 Ball belongs in the same sentence as Ouija boards. It is a gateway to the other side as well. And this is very recent. This is not like 1920s. This was 2006 I found this publication. Lawn darts. Lawn darts actually got a really, really bad name. And the sad reality is, over a period of 8 years, lawn darts had sent 6,100 people to the emergency room. How many people ended up in the emergency room because of a Ouija board? None. So yeah, very, very tragic story. Lawn darts were actually made illegal after young Michelle Snow died at the age of 7. Her parents, or her father mainly, had to take everybody to court and get them to take them off the shelves. They were putting warnings on the box, but they were on the bottom side and nobody ever saw them. And poor Harry Potter. How many books of Harry Potter have been burned because people say it's going to make kids turn to witchcraft? So the moral of the story is, it's not the item itself, it's the people who get the bad idea, the people who don't want to guide their kids properly. It's easier to burn something or make it illegal than it is to actually have a conversation with your children. Do Ouija boards really work? As a skeptic, I have to tell you something, guys, they do. Ouija boards really do work. There's a very, very powerful force that empowers them. It's the human brain. It's something called the ideomotor effect. It's your body expecting results, or your brain expecting results, and your body following through. And you don't have to just look at Ouija boards to believe in that. Dowsing is very, very similar. People expect a result, and the stick starts bending. If you don't believe me, go try finding gold in the hills with a dowsing rod. Table turning, we already talked about table turning. We saw the voodoo table. There's a number of things going on here. Brandon pointed this out, and there's a hat in the back that they're using very similar to a planchette. There's some pendulums going on, and right there, that group in the middle, these guys are doing the table turning. Automatic writing planchettes, very, very similar. And the cool thing about automatic writing planchettes is that you can't operate it blindfolded. The Ouija board does not work blindfolded. You need those visual cues to guide the planchette. Pendulum divination. This is the easiest way to explore the ideomotor effect. You guys can do this with anything. You can do this with a string and just a washer tied to it, and you can train yourself to answer questions with it. You'll be convinced that your body's not moving, but it's just a subtle little tremor that's making this thing spin around. Light as a feather, stiff as a board. Has anyone ever played this? That's the ideomotor effect, you know? This is people holding somebody, one of their friends, and they're chanting light as a feather, stiff as a board. Before you know it, their friend starts levitating. They're still touching your hands, they're not floating up, but it's seemingly weightless. Now, the ideomotor effect is based on psychology, and we're still learning so much about the human brain. In the early 1900s, people still weren't used to dealing with the human brain, and that's when a lot of the crimes that were committed with Ouija boards were happening. This poor guy suffered from something that they just lumped into a group of categories called shell shock. He was in World War I, and it was a war like we had never seen before. There was just so many concussion bombs going off, and it damaged a lot of good men. So a lot of men were actually put to death because they didn't understand how the brain worked, and they thought they were acting. They thought these were acts of cowardice. Now we know so much more. Now it's amazing to me that people don't believe that the human brain can push a little piece of wood, but it can convince a beautiful girl that she needs to starve herself to fit into a certain form that society has made. This is anorexia nervosa. My sister actually grew up with anorexia nervosa. It was horrible. She was on the swim team, and she was always in a bathing suit. She never thought she was a beautiful girl, and she is. She's out of it now, and she's got 2 beautiful kids. But that is the power of the brain at work. It can push a little piece of wood, or it can ruin somebody's life. So why speak out as a skeptic? It's a very good question, especially at a paranormal convention where there's so many believers here. I don't do it because I want to hurt anybody's feelings. I don't want to feel better than somebody. I'm not trying to make anybody feel dumb or stupid. In fact, I think we can all get along together in the paranormal community. We need people to help support history and keep so many places open. Like the Mark Twain House, one of their biggest forms of revenue is people coming out to experience the paranormal. The Winchester Mystery House, that place is so gigantic, it takes so much money to just mow the lawn. Now we're doing slumber parties there. Why? Because people want to experience the paranormal. But the paranormal is actually very, very dangerous sometimes. We just had little girls stab their friend because they thought the Slender Man was going to make them, best friends. This is a horrific dog murder that just happened earlier this year, involving a Ouija board. A guy said he used a Ouija board and it told him to murder the dog. He hacked a family's dog up and tried stuffing it down the sink. Kids in Africa, albino kids, they're having their limbs cut off and they're being left in the bushes because they think their limbs are magic and they're going to make, spells and stuff with them. That's horrible, right? So I think I want to encourage people to do the same thing I did. Ask as many questions as you can. Follow the trail of money. Is somebody just selling a product because they want to make a buck? Or Or is it going to lead you down somewhere that's going to be really dangerous? What do you guys think? Ouija board real? Or is it all just make-believe? It is real, it does move, but I don't think it's spirits. That's it, guys, that's all I got for you. Does anybody have any questions? I'm not an expert, I'll try to answer to the best of my ability. No? No questions? Cool. If you guys come up with one and you want to talk to me privately, I'll be here. Just look for my shirt. Thank you guys very much for coming out. Thank you for supporting the TBHS. We could not be here without you. We could. It'd just be very, very lonely. Have a good night, guys.